Early morning hours of October 13th, 2021, the Chicago police, a SWAT team, and the FBI pulled out of Chicago's 3rd District Police Department. They were heading northwest towards a Chicago neighborhood called Parkway Gardens, or more famously known as O Block.
The police department like two stoplights away from O Block. See how close that shit is?
O Block is one of America's most dangerous neighborhoods, where violent crimes are extremely common. Police are often called to this neighborhood during these violent outbursts, but this time, it wasn't a response call. This was a raid. For the first time ever, the FBI was involved in a case tied directly to O Block, and it wasn't going to end well for some of its residents.
Another day of SWAT team raids. The scene unfolded in the Parkway Gardens neighborhood near 63rd and South King Drive.
These police units began their raid by blocking all 5 exits to the Parkway Gardens neighborhood. These law enforcement agencies had with them search warrants, arrest warrants, and were going after the suspects in the killing of FBG Duck. FBG Duck was a famous rapper and was part of O Block's rival gang. This rival gang was known as the Gangster Disciples, while most of the men living inside O Block are part of the Black Disciples. Out of the Black Disciples, the FBI was going after 4 main suspects. The FBI's suspects were Charles Liggins, who goes by C-Murda, DeCarlos Offord, who goes by Los, Christopher Thomas, who goes by C-Thang, and Marcus Smart, who goes by Muwop. All 4 suspects were sleeping at the time of this raid, and these law enforcement officers knew exactly which building they were in. It wasn't too difficult for the FBI to track down these 4 individuals that were behind the killing of FBG Duck. That's because these 4 individuals weren't very discreet about their involvement in this killing.
You got any thoughts on FBG Duck? Any thoughts on him? Did you know him?
Who, Duck?
Did you know him before? Everything?
Like that. I don't know. Okay. All I know, don't say that shit about Troy or
Nigga.
Rest in peace, Duck.
With this evidence, these law enforcement agencies made their way on foot through the Parkway Gardens housing complex and into the residences that these men were living at. They executed their search warrants and had all 4 men in handcuffs within just 10 minutes of first entering O Block. The FBI left with their suspects and then held a press conference explaining what had just gone down.
That indictment alleges that these 5 individuals were members or associates of the O Block street gang. The indictment also alleges that the O Block street gang sought to promote and enhance the enterprise and the enterprise's members and associates' activities in various ways, to include publicly claiming responsibility for acts of violence committed by the enterprise, taunting rival gang members, and also alleges that the O Block enterprise sought to increase its status through the use of social media platforms and music.
But the FBI wasn't involved in this case just to go after these 4 men. This FBI investigation was far from over, as they believed there was a much bigger problem at stake following this killing. But on August 4th, 2020, at approximately 4:20 p.m., FBG Duck exited a dark-colored sedan driven by his girlfriend. FBG Duck was in Chicago's Gold Coast looking for a birthday present for his son. Chicago's Gold Coast is known as one of the city's safest and wealthiest areas.
Nah, the Gold Coast nice as fuck. That's why you find Gucci, MCM, fucking Michael Jordan, State Restaurant, all the nice shit is right there.
Known for luxury boutiques and high-end condos. As Duck was walking into a store, 2 vehicles, a silver Ford Fusion and a black Chrysler 300, screeched to an abrupt stop next to Duck. 4 individuals quickly got out of the cars and immediately opened fire, unleashing a hail of bullets at Duck. Duck attempted to hide behind a car, but the bullets were coming too quickly. The entire assault lasted a mere 15 seconds, but was described by witnesses as 15 seconds of mayhem. The gunmen quickly hopped back in their cars and sped off. Duck was struck multiple times, where doctors later counted 16 bullet wounds across his body. Even Duck's girlfriend sitting in the car was struck, along with a bystander completely unrelated to the incident. This shooting happened on a busy weekday afternoon where surveillance footage showed many cars and pedestrians nearby. Surveillance footage was also able to track these vehicles on many different roads throughout Chicago and even traced their cars all the way back to O Block. At 4:56 p.m., just a half hour after the shooting, surveillance footage shows the same Chrysler pulling back into O Block, and Charles Liggins was seen exiting the passenger seat.
Y'all niggas went right back to O Block in them hot-ass cars.
This incident made national headlines, and local residents were extremely concerned that the gang violence was now spilling onto their own streets. This signaled that the violence of O Block could even be felt in one of Chicago's safest neighborhoods. Because of this, the FBI knew they needed to get involved in not just taking down the suspects in this killing, but actually putting an end to the violence between these two rival gangs. The FBI had a much bigger task at hand, and it was just getting started.
What's happening on social media and what's happening in music videos that are on YouTube, particularly in the drill rap genre, it shows you what's happening in this city. It shows you exactly what's happening in the city, which is that people are threatening to commit acts of violence and then either bragging about acts of violence or talking about how they're going to retaliate for other acts of violence. And it's happening on a regular basis.
As mentioned before, the two main gangs operating in and around O Block are the Black Disciples and the Gangster Disciples. These two rival gangs used to be united under the same gang, known as the Black Gangster Disciple Nation. This was one of the largest organized crime groups in Chicago that was formed in the early 1960s. By the late 1970s and early 1980s, tensions between the leaders in this gang started growing. Eventually, these tensions became so strong that the gang split up into two separate gangs, which resulted in the Black Disciples and the Gangster Disciples. This split wasn't just for organizational purposes. This split led to serious ongoing violence between the two groups, especially on Chicago's South Side. Today, the Black Disciples control all of O Block, and the Gangster Disciples control much of its surrounding neighborhoods. Local residents say that the Black Disciples of O Block risk getting shot if they cross past Vernon Avenue to the east or venture north of 63rd Street. These are the sharp cutoffs between the Black Disciples and the Gangster Disciples territories. While the Black Disciples have Parkway Gardens, the Gangster Disciples call the neighborhood of Woodlawns home. Between Parkway Gardens and the Woodlawns neighborhood, 95% of the residents are Black and many live in poverty. Many violent interactions often take place right on King Drive, which is right next to where the borders of the two gangs meet. There was a McDonald's on King Drive that the Gangster Disciples were known to stay away from, given this was Black Disciples territory. This McDonald's ended up being a violent meeting ground between the two groups anytime a Gangster Disciple stepped foot here, and eventually had to close down because of this extremely hostile environment.
God damn, McDonald's couldn't even operate over there, but y'all niggas lost y'all McDonald's because y'all was banging too hard. I know y'all over there hungry than a motherfucking O Block.
Most of the shootings on King Drive take place between 64th and 65th Streets, where many of the businesses located on this block have had a tough time doing business with the constant crime.
You hear like shooting every single day. I can't step outside anymore. I can't. I'm scared of my life.
On this Parkway supermarket, there was once a mural of the famous rapper King Von. King Von grew up in O Block and was one of the rappers who made O Block nationally known. King Von made an album called Welcome to O Block that was released in 2020. This album is a vivid narrative of what his experiences growing up in O Block were like. King Von was very involved in gang violence and ended up losing his own life outside an Atlanta nightclub in 2020. Even before King Von, there was another influential rapper that contributed to O Block's fame. The first major artist to come from O Block was Chief Keef, who was generally known for the birth of drill music. Chief Keef had his breakout hit in 2012 known as I Don't Like, and frequently references O Block in his music. Chief Keef has stayed away from O Block ever since he became famous though, for fear that his life would be in danger by rival gangs if he were to return. And then there's Lil Durk, who is technically from nearby Englewood, Illinois, but is heavily associated with O Block. In 2021, Lil Durk publicly said that he wanted to buy Parkway Gardens when a rumor came out that the neighborhood was up for sale. Lil Durk tweeted out, "I'll buy it, don't matter how much it is." But arguably the most famous person by far to once live in O Block is Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama was born in Parkway Gardens and lived here for the first 2 years of her life. The neighborhood was originally a cooperative housing project designed to provide affordable housing to Black working-class families. It was originally a safe and supportive neighborhood. But even back in 1964, when Michelle Obama was born here, her parents could see that the block was changing. Because of this, Michelle Obama's family moved to a safer neighborhood outside of Chicago. In 2006, the nearby affordable housing complex known as the Robert Taylor Homes was demolished. This led to the displacement of many of its residents, including members of the Black Disciples gang. Many of these Black Disciples moved their operations to Parkway Gardens. Already in Parkway Gardens at the time was the Gangster Disciples territory. These two groups, now living basically on top of each other, set the stage for violent territorial disputes between the two gangs. The next major increase in violence came in 2011 when a Black Disciples member named O.D. Perry was killed. O.D. wasn't just a random member of the Black Disciples, he was highly respected and considered a key figure in the neighborhood's street structure. O.D.'s death was a major blow to many young men in the community. Because of this tragic loss, the block was then referred to as O Block in his honor. O.D.'s death also coincided with the rise of drill music. The music artists from O Block that we mentioned before, Chief Keef, King Von, and Lil Durk, started referencing O.D. and O Block in their lyrics. This brought national attention to the block and even to the gang conflicts that were fueling their music. As O Block was becoming famous on the internet, the two gangs seemed to ramp up their violence even further. Between the years of 2011 and 2014, O Block had more shootings than any other block in Chicago. Since 2014, crime has still been rampant, where every year O Block averages 145 violent crimes, 280 property crimes, 114 acts of vandalism, and 31 motor vehicle thefts. Other areas around Chicago also have high crime rates like Englewood, Washington Park, and Woodlawn, but O Block stands out because of how many crimes take place in such a concentrated area. Because of how extreme this block had become, the Chicago police knew that they needed to make some massive changes. The department's first step was assigning a special unit just to patrol O Block.
Yeah, you know this shit wild, nigga. They needed a task force just for this little ass area. That shit crazy.
The Chicago Police Department designated a 5-square block as an impact zone, which encompasses Parkway Gardens. This impact zone is where 10 veteran officers bring along brand new officers to conduct routine foot and vehicle patrol checks. The Chicago Police Department also formed a summer patrol unit that added extra officers to this area for the summer months, which is when the crime is usually the highest. Along with more police patrolling the area, visitors are now met with heightened security. When visitors are driving into the Parkway Gardens neighborhood, they have to pass through a 24-hour guardhouse.
What the fuck is them little toll booths stop in Chicago? I ain't never seen nobody in them motherfuckers.
That is stationed at each of the entrances. Residents of O Block are given a special sticker on their car that allows them entry automatically. Additionally, the complex is surrounded by an 8-foot-tall fence, and pedestrians are limited to just 5 entrances along King Drive. There have also been over 100 security cameras installed throughout O Block. These cameras monitor building entrances, courtyards, parking lots, and pedestrian gates. This footage is actively being monitored by the special O Block security personnel and has helped investigators to find many criminals behind deadly crimes. A major root cause behind the violent crime of this block is the fact that many of the children here aren't often in school. In 2022, 45% of children living in O Block were classified as chronically absent, which is defined as missing 10% or more days of school. Students from O Block attend the Hirsch Metropolitan High School, which has an average attendance rate of 61%, much lower than the state of Illinois' average attendance rate at 89%. Roughly just 65% of residents living in Parkway Gardens have attained a high school diploma. There's many students living here that want to go to school more often, but say they are afraid of walking to school. This walk can be dangerous because many of the kids have to cross into rival gangs' territories in order to get to school. Children get involved in gangs as early as 13 years old here. For much of middle and high school, these kids have to be careful of where they are walking anytime they leave their neighborhood. With children growing up in this environment where they're essentially destined for the streets, community members have been looking for ways to put an end to this violent culture on O Block. Recently, a new $350,000 artificial turf field has just been installed at Delos Elementary School, which is just north of Parkway Gardens. This field was installed to hopefully give teens and children a safer place to play. Also, a Chicago police officer, Jennifer Maddox, founded a program to help the children of O Block known as Future Ties. This program offers after-school activities, homework assistance, and summer camps for the children in Parkway Gardens. This program has provided a safe environment with activities like arts and crafts, field trips, and guest speakers, looking to keep the children off the streets. But maybe the most significant recent change around O Block comes from the pastor of New Beginnings Church just to its south. Pastor Corey Brooks camped out on the roof of some empty shipping containers in 2021 to raise money for a new community center.
10 years ago, Pastor Brooks made international headlines when he spent 3 months of the winter on top of a crime-infested motel across the street from his church, raising nearly $500,000 to tear that motel down. Now, on that empty lot, there are 4 metal freight containers, symbolizing the $30 million community center he wants to build on this site.
These shipping containers were just across the street from his church on King Drive. This community center would feature classrooms, a gym, restaurants, basketball court, and other facilities aimed at helping its community members become better equipped to enter the labor force. Corey Brooks ended up making national headlines with this fundraising effort and eventually hit his goal of raising $30 million. Construction for this community center began in 2023, marking the start of this 85,000 square feet and 3-story tall facility just outside of O Block.
$30 million? What the fuck that preacher doing on O Block? That's all the hell they came up with, was a community center, like, for 30 mil? I don't know, 30 million a pretty penny. I hope that community center is really doing some good over there, man. You know, Chicago, wow. O Block, wow, man. You know, subscribe, like, comment. Catch y'all next time.